Hi folks, this is Jay. Hope you're okay today. It's good to see you. We're talking about marriage guidance, and we looked at the great big problems that we can have when things go really in a mess. And then we've looked at specifically about pornography, and now I want to talk about jealousy. And jealousy in the marriage, and how that can be dealt with, and what's that all about. You got to be careful with yourselves and ask yourself this question: have you got a history in relationships? If you've been married before and your marriage broke up because your spouse went off with another partner, and then you get married again, then you're going to bear those scars, and you're going to bring those scars into the marriage. Okay. Also, you might have got married first, been married for the first time, and you might be a person who hasn't got a lot of experience in relationships, and you get married, and you're going to bring that lack of experience into your marriage. Okay. So these two things can play a role in your marriage, and I'm going to explain how. What that can do is, if you're a person who's been married before and there's been a divorce because of adultery of the other person, when you get married, you're going to be very insecure, and you're always going to be suspicious about anybody approaching your spouse, and you're going to be controlling to your husband or your wife, and that's going to be unbearable for your husband and wife, and you'll probably send your husband and wife literally insane. We think of Elvis Presley, "We're caught in a trap." In fact, let's just play a little clip of that just to bring it home to us. Let's just play a little clip of this.
Warning. We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Why can't you see what you're doing to me?
So that's the song Suspicious Minds. But there's nothing worse when you're in a marriage and the other person's suspicious of you and controlling every moment, situation where you feel that you're being watched all the time and you're not being trusted. And if you're a person who has been in a marriage before and the person failed you because of adultery, and then you get married and you're suspicious of your spouse, that's going to cause horrendous conflict within the marriage. So there's two things that needs to be done. Number one, you need to recognize that you've got this baggage, and that this insecurity that you have will cause your wife or your husband great pain, because you're going to put expectations on them that they can't fulfill. You're going to be wanting to know where they are every 5 minutes. That's an unreasonable expectation. So you've got to recognize that you've got this insecure problem. Alright? The other thing that you need to recognize is that no matter what happens, you're loved by God. That He's your security, that He's your identity, that He's the person that holds you in His hands, that He's your refuge. God is a very present help in trouble. That's your foundation. It's not your relationship, it's God and His love for you. That's your identity. So even though you've had your heart ripped out by this other person who committed adultery or whoever, and your heart's been broken, your strength is still in God. If we turn to Your strength and your identity is still in God. Now, I know that doesn't bring healing straight away, or you'll always carry those wounds of the past. I'm not saying those wounds are going to go, but you're in a new situation. You're in a marriage now, a new marriage, and you want that marriage to work, and that marriage is not going to work if your insecurities are putting false expectations on the marriage partner. Psalm 46, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake, and the swelling sea there is a river, whose streams thereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, and the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he has made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the ends of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear asunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. God is your refuge. Is your strength. I know you've had your heart broken, and no one can understand how a heart can be broken so badly by another person. But your heart's been broken so badly, 1,000 pieces, because of this adultery. And your heart is hurt, and you are crushed. And now you've got married to a new person. But every time they go out, every time they do something, you want to know where they are, and that person then gets angry with you because you're putting a false expectation on them. And you're getting upset, and then you are getting upset because you feel rejected. You feel now it's going to happen with this husband. This husband is going to go out and commit adultery. Or this wife is going to go out and commit adultery. And so you're fulfilling a prophecy, a self-fulfilled prophecy. And you've got to stop that by saying, no, this marriage is of God. I'm a child of God, loved of God, and it's not going to be the same as before. God is with me. God is going to help me. God has promised me He'll be there. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I trust in Him that this marriage is in His hands. So have confidence in your identity in God. Take all your pain and hurt to God and give it to Him, and trust Him that He's with you in this marriage. Put your confidence in Him, not in your insecurity. Now to the spouse side, you're being told by your husband or wife that they're trying to keep tabs on you all the time. They're trying to know where you are all the time. Now, two things to say about that. First of all, you got to understand that your spouse is damaged, your spouse is hurt, your spouse is broken. So you've got to make special allowances. You might feel like getting angry or upset because they say, well, where have you been? What have you been doing? Who have you been talking to? Or you might have talked to the opposite sex, and then your spouse gets upset, and you say, why are you upset? And you say, well, I've only chatted with that person. And your spouse will be really sensitive and think, or you want to go out with that person and leave them. You've got to understand you're dealing with a damaged person. And so you've got to not get angry, but be understanding. And the way to do that is to make that person feel treasured and special. Show them love, show them understanding, spend time with them, care for them, help them. And as you care for them, help them through this and show them love, they will get healing and comfort. And that means you've got to avoid unnecessary conversation for the sake of your spouse. If your work situation means that the opposite sex you're in contact with, and the opposite sex maybe wants a counselling session at your work, maybe you're the boss of your department, and a woman wants to talk to you, or a man wants to talk to you, and you've got to be alone. and then you get home and your wife or your husband finds out about it, because they've got this issue with the past, they're going to get upset with you. So you got to make sure that, you know, you can say to your husband or your wife, well, actually I had to cancel this person or talk to this person, but I had someone else with me as well. That puts your spouse at ease. So in other words, don't put yourself in unnecessary situations that will make your spouse suspicious. Alright? I know it's frustrating, but you've got to do that so that you can build the confidence in your spouse that they are loved and cherished. And it's no good getting angry and frustrated with your spouse if you're not doing that. Okay? The other side of it is the person who has not got much experience in marriage, and you get married, and you've got to realise when you get married, it's not like you were before you were married. Before you were married, you were foot loose and fancy free, but when you're married, you're committed. So you can't be going in your workplace flirting to another woman or another man. Flirting's not acceptable. And if your husband or wife finds out about it, they have a right to get upset with you. It's no good saying, oh, I only flirted, I only said something, or I only... No, you're married. What you were before you were married is not the same as you are married. And as a Christian, you have a responsibility to be wholesome. So flirtation with the opposite sex is a no-go area. Now, if you're just married and you're from a non-Christian background, and you're not used to being taught what marriage is all about, and you're in a situation, in a work situation where that kind of thing goes on, it might take you a few moments to process what I've said, but you've got to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, by getting into the Word of God and thinking the way God wants you to think. So flirtation is not on the cards. You shouldn't be doing that as a Christian, but and as a married person, you shouldn't be doing that. Okay? Your loyalties to your wife or your husband, 100%. They are everything to you, and you need to make sure that they know that. Okay? So you need to grow up. You're not a cheeky chappy or a cheeky woman. You are a man, a woman of God, called to in marriage, and so you need to mature and put your loyalty to your spouse. Okay? Okay, we're going to talk about a few other issues in the next video. Alright, I hope that's a help to you.